Hi everyone. If you like the way I teach and want me to be your teacher, the link to my engineering fundamental school is in the description below. Enjoy the video. Today I'd like to introduce to you the idea of a moment vector. Thus far in the course, the net force equal to zero was enough to solve our problems, which was particle equilibrium problems, where a particle is an object with no size. But what if we were to analyze a body with size? Let's use a steering wheel, for example. Let's draw a steering wheel with equal but opposite forces applied on opposite sides of the circumference. We see here that the net force is zero, but does this mean that the steering wheel is in static equilibrium? The answer is no. Because we have forces placed at a distance, we induce a torque on the system. And in engineering, we refer to this torque as a moment, where a moment is just something placed at a distance. As you go through the curriculum, you'll see various moments taken of different parameters. There's moment of force, there's moment of area or area moment of inertia, there's moment of mass, and there's even moment of linear momentum. The bottom two options, the mass and linear momentum, you'll see more in your dynamics course. The moment of area we'll explore later in this course, and the moment of force is what we're talking about right now. Sometimes we refer to it as a moment, and other times we'll refer to it as a torque. It depends on if that moment is normal to the cross section or parallel to the cross section. But we'll talk about that in further lectures. Just as a force is related to an object's linear acceleration, a moment is related to an object's angular acceleration. So to ensure the equilibrium of a body, we can't just ensure that the sum of the forces is zero, we also must ensure that the sum of the moments is zero. Let's mathematically define what a moment is. A moment is a vector, and it's produced by a cross product of two terms. If we cross a position vector and a force, what we get is a moment. And moments are always about a certain origin or point. Let's say we have an arbitrary body that we draw, and this body has an origin point O with four position vectors drawn here. The position vectors are drawn to four different forces. And let's say we wanted to analyze this body. Let's say the body is in static equilibrium, and we write Newton's second law for each one of these particles inside of the body. What we can note about the right-hand side is that since nothing in the system is moving, the right-hand side must be equal to the zero vector. What about if we cross both sides of this equation with the position vector centered at the origin O? On the left-hand side, we get the moment, and on the right-hand side, we get a zero vector. If we add up all these equations, we get the sum of the moments must be equal to zero for the entire body. And if we do the same thing on the left, we get the sum of the forces must be equal to zero. These are the equations that we have to satisfy for a body with size in order to ensure static equilibrium. Because the moment is defined via a cross product, let's go ahead and review the cross product. We'll draw a position vector, again centered at the origin point O, and a force, F, at an angle of theta with the horizontal. If we remember that the moment vector is defined by a cross product and that it is a vector, we have to note that the moment vector has magnitude and it has direction. The magnitude component of this is represented by this sign formula, and what it physically represents is the area of the parallelogram formed by R and F, where the base can be seen as the side length F and the height can be seen by the term r sine theta, or the distance d, shown in green there. We can also note that it makes sense for the cross product of two of the same vectors to be 0, because if you cross two vectors which are exactly the same, the area of the parallelogram produced would be equal to 0. Let's go ahead and move on to the direction aspect of the moment vector. The moment vector, its direction is defined by the right-hand rule. And how do we get this direction? We point our forefingers in the direction of R and curl them in the direction of F. And we do this by making sure R and F are coincident at the same point. Point your fingers in the direction of R, curl them in the direction of F, and your thumb will denote the direction of the moment vector. Let's go ahead and do an example here where we're looking at the same R and F. And all we do is translate that R to the same point as that F along its line of action. And if we curl our fingers in this direction shown on screen, our thumb will point out of the page, or in the k-hat direction, if we're assuming a normal Cartesian coordinate system. Its magnitude is what we discussed before, the area of the parallelogram formed by R and F, and its direction, defined by the right-hand rule, is out of the page, or in the k-hat direction. This is not the only way to find the magnitude and direction of the moment vector. We can find also the determinant by the determinant definition, also known as Laplace expansion. We can find the magnitude and direction of the moment vector. We put our basis vectors on the top of the determinants. We put the components of our position vector in row 2, and in our final row we put the components of our force vector. We expand the determinant and we get the following formula. You can see where these terms are coming from if we look at the areas that I'm going to highlight in blue. If we cover the row and column which intersect I-hats, we can see this cross multiplication going on. That would be the first term. We can do the same thing for J and the same thing for K. Also recall that that minus sign will appear. Let's move on to the principle of transmissibility. The principle of transmissibility basically says that forces can be translated along their line of action and produce exactly the same moment. Shown on screen here is 3 different scenarios with different position vectors, but finding the moment about point O with the force translated along its line of action in 3 different scenarios. As you can see, the length of the position vector is changing, the location of F is changing along its line of action, but you can see that the area of the parallelogram always remains the same. The base is always F and the height is always this distance D. No matter how we shift this F along its line of action and how long or short that position vector gets, the height of the parallelogram remains the same. It's the distance D. Because the height is the same in all cases and the base is always F, the area of the parallelogram, or the magnitude of the cross product, is the same in all cases, proving the principle of transmissibility. Let's go ahead and do an example. In the example, we're going to practice calculating a moment in a common scenario where a wrench is turning a bolt. This wrench is turning a hexagonal bolt, and the force is applied on the end of the wrench. We want to find what is the moment about this origin point, O. And I want the magnitude and the direction. So we have all the information shown here. What we want to calculate is the moment about point O. If we plug straight into the definition, all we have to do is write R and F in our Cartesian coordinate system, where R is a vector 12 inches long and 15 degrees clockwise from the horizontal, and F is also shown here. We can write those using our unit vectors. and our magnitudes. So let's go ahead and do that and perform the cross product. This first term is R, and the second term is F. If we perform the cross product, we get around negative 580 pounds. What this really means is that the magnitude of the moment is 580 inch-pounds, and its direction is in the minus k hats. You point your thumb in the direction of the minus k hats, and your fingers will curl corresponding to the direction of the rotation that that moment will produce if it wasn't in static equilibrium. Here's the solution here. Let's go ahead and use a second method to be able to get this solution. What we're going to do is take advantage of the fact that parallel forces do not produce any moments. So we're going to take our force and break it into components which are parallel and perpendicular to the position vector of our choice. Let's choose a coordinate system which is aligned with our position vector, like the following coordinate system shown here. This coordinate system is canted at 15 degrees from the vertical and the horizontal. If we wanted to break this coordinate system, if we wanted to break this force down, where its components are pointing parallel and perpendicular to this coordinate system, we can do so as shown. The parallel components would be F sine, while the perpendicular component would be F cosine, shown on screen here. What you can see is that if you took the cross product of R and Fx, no moments would be produced. The area of that parallelogram is 0 since they form a line. What about R cross Fy? That produces a rectangle, and its magnitude, the magnitude of the cross product, is just the area of that rectangle. It's going to be 12 inches multiplied by F cosine of 15 degrees. And we know what F is, it's 50 pounds. If we find this magnitude, it's going to be 580 pounds, and its direction is clockwise because that force is pulling the position vector downwards or in a clockwise motion. I hope you were able to learn the idea of a moment vector in this video. If it was helpful to you, please like and subscribe. Keep learning and keep working hard. Goodbye.